Hey, welcome to the very first episode of the Freelance Pros Podcast. Jessica and I are creating this podcast because we've both managed to go from typical 9 to 5 employees to full time 6 figure freelancers, and we've learned a lot along the way. Our objective with this podcast is to help other freelancers and people that might be interested in freelancing go from just barely making it to having a thriving freelance business. And one of the biggest reasons we've been able to do so is by leveraging Upwork to give us a constant source of new clients. So that's going to be one of our key areas of focus in this podcast. All right, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Tyler, and I've been a full time freelance videographer for the last 6 years. So hopefully, this looks really good if you're on YouTube. And our co host, why don't you introduce yourself, Jessica?
My name is Jessica, and I have been a freelance social media manager for the past 4 years now. And I have recently made the transition from freelancer to social media agency owner and building out a team.
Okay, awesome. And so for this first episode, I thought we would talk about how you and I basically managed to escape the 9 to 5 and become full time 6 figure freelancers, thanks in part to Upwork. So we know there's a lot of people out there who have full time jobs that are interested in the idea of freelancing, but might not know where to start. And there's also a lot of freelancers out there who are just barely making it, feast or famine. So hopefully, this podcast can be a resource for those people, and we can't wait to help people learn how to be more effective freelancers. So, let's start with you, Jessica. Take us back to when you were an extremely unhappy employee and tell us how you managed to escape.
So I get my first big girl job right out of college. I got a job at a corporate PR firm in San Francisco, and I was stoked. I was so excited. I was like, I've made it. Like, this is what I've always wanted. But little did I know, about 7 months into the job, I realized I hate this. This is not for me. There's no goal, there's no incentive. I don't like feeling the stress that this is my only income source. And so that's when I got the itch to start looking for other options. And that's actually when I discovered just this whole concept of freelancing. I was like, wow, like this sounds amazing. This sounds perfect. Like you get to be your own boss, you get to set your own schedule, you get to no cap on your income. Like, yes, please sign me up for all of this. So, all the while, I'm still grinding it out in my corporate job, but I'm secretly trying to find clients. I'm just putting myself out there and making sure my LinkedIn profile is dialed, doing what I can to try to at least start to get some freelancing momentum. So, completely out of the blue, a freelance client reaches out on LinkedIn, which thank God I had my LinkedIn profile up to date. Like, thank God I was being strategic with my online presence. So, this nonprofit basically reached out and they're like, hey, we need some freelancing support. And so, had a call with them. And then they were basically a very, very part time, very, very small freelancing client, but hey, a freelancing client nonetheless. And so, I'm grinding away at my corporate job. My performance unfortunately starts to tank because, again, there's no incentive, there's no goal for me to keep striving towards that next level. And all of a sudden, I get a calendar invite from my boss and the HR manager of the company. And I was like, oh no, like my heart just completely sunk. I was like, this is not good. This is not good at all. And so I remember going into the meeting, I was nervous, I was sweating. I was like, this is not good. I'm going to get fired. And so I walk into the office and basically my boss like looks me in the eye and says, "Jessica, you have two options here. Option 1, you step up your performance. We put you on a performance plan. We're going to monitor you closely, making sure you're hitting those KPIs. Or option 2, you walk away and you move on to something else and you quit the company." And I was like, oh, I was just blown away. I still get like the chills and like the stress from that meeting and just figuring out how to move forward in that decision. So, long story short, I decided, okay, this is a blessing in disguise. I'm going to take option two and I'm going to walk away from this job and start my freelancing business and just give it a shot and see what I can do.
So you leave the comfort of your full-time job and you have one freelance client under your belt. How did you make that work? How did you square that circle?
So after the initial shock of the situation, I kind of sat down and I was like, okay, what are our options to make money here? And I had this freelance client who was very, very happy. And I knew from the get go in working with them, even if it was very, very part time, I made sure to over deliver on every single project that I did with them because I knew that was going to open doors for me later on. So I'm very proud of myself for recognizing that. But I basically saw an opportunity with them to kind of upsell my services because I knew from other conversations and talking with people, other people in the marketing department, they were looking for a marketing person. And so I saw an opportunity to basically sell them on a retainer package and then being able to provide more marketing support for them. And so I decided, what do I have to lose? I'm going to draft a very comprehensive email. I'm going to set up a follow up call and I'm just going to shoot my shot and I'm going to see if they'll go for it. And so I basically reached out to them and they said yes. And then that's basically how I got them onto a monthly retainer and I was able to support myself with this one freelance client. And then while I was able to, pay my bills with them, I hustled and I did my best to grow my freelancing business to land more clients.
So basically you were able to slide in right before they hired someone full-time to be their marketing person.
That's basically it. So I remember I was listening to a ton of podcasts, I was reading a ton of books, any piece of information I could find to help me be successful as a freelancer. I was consuming. So I remember listening to this podcast, and it was a very interesting bit about how an employee can cost a company a lot more money than a freelance contractor. And so I was like, it's in the company's best interest, if the structure makes sense to just hire a freelancer because they don't have to pay benefits. They don't have to commit to a full time salary. Sometimes it's better off for a company just to go the freelance route. And so I took that nugget of information and I used it to my advantage in my negotiation with this company to, hire me on for a larger retainer.
So at this point, you've got one client on retainer. How did you go from being someone that's just barely making it, right? I'm sure that was barely enough money to get by to being a freelancer with more than enough clients.
At the time, I only had this one freelance client that was paying my bills, thank God. But I was hustling and just trying everything I could to find more clients. And this was right around the time I remember you mentioning Upwork. You were telling me about this platform that you could get freelance clients. And so I was like, what the heck? I'll give it a shot. At that point, I was just so open to anything and everything to try to find clients. I was like, okay, what do I have to lose? Nothing. So I went on there, created a profile, and I somehow was able to get a couple of really, really small projects. I don't think I even made much money, but I was able to get 5-star reviews because I just knew it was ingrained in me that you need to get really good reviews on a platform like this because they're permanent. They don't go away. So you better over deliver, over promise, do whatever you can do to just get those 5-star reviews. And so that's initially how I got some momentum. And then I hit a home run where a marketing agency basically reached out to me on Upwork and they needed ongoing monthly support for a social media role. And that is the company that I was able to reach 10K earned and therefore top rated status. So that company was the game changer for Upwork. And at that point, my status was top rated. And then I just had this flood of new clients coming in. And it was amazing. And the reason that I was able to really scale my business to where it is today.
Okay, so you go from having one client to essentially leveraging Upwork, building the reviews, and then essentially getting your Upwork profile to a point where people are attracted to your profile because of all the badges and all the reviews. So, where are you at now in terms of your freelancing?
So now I'm at a point where there were so many clients that were coming in. I recognized really, really quickly that I personally wasn't going to be able to service all of these clients to the level and standard that I wanted to. So that's when I was like, okay, I need a team. I need to find people who do exceptional work and then figure out a way that we can outsource this basically. So we're able to deliver an amazing service to clients. And so now I'm at a point where I am building the team. We are delegating and outsourcing. I'm building processes to keep the machine running so we're able to really deliver amazing results for clients. And if it wasn't for Upwork, I would not be able to focus all of my time and energy and effort on building the team. I would have been bogged down with sales and pitching clients and trying to find clients. Like having Upwork being this consistent source and flow of new clients allowed me to focus my efforts elsewhere. So I was able to scale. So I will sing Upwork's praises nonstop.
And by the way, we are not sponsored by Upwork. It might sound like it. We are just big fans of it. And we think there's a lot of freelancers out there that could benefit from being on there and learning how to elevate themselves to the top of the Upwork rankings.
So now that I've shared my story, tell us about your story.
So out of college, I had a couple full-time videography jobs that a lot of videographers would call dream jobs. One was at a digital agency, and the other was at a really cool sportswear company where I was able to travel around the world, shoot a lot of really cool outdoor adventure type content. But I just could not fit myself into that 9 to 5 model. As awesome as my job was, as cool as my boss was, I couldn't take the commute. I couldn't take the pay ceiling. I was freelancing on the side, but I wanted to be unleashed. I wanted the freedom. I've always been a really freedom oriented person. So freedom is kind of at the top of my value hierarchy, and having a 9 to 5 job, just I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not built like that. So at the end of my second year as a full-time employee, I had the difficult decision and the difficult conversation with my boss. And I basically said, I'm going freelance. I would love to continue working with you as a freelancer. But in terms of me coming into the office every day, it's pretty much that's over for me.
So, how did your boss react to that? And like, how did you muster up the confidence?
Yeah, it was tough. Me and my boss are actually still good friends. He hires me occasionally for contract type work. He gave me an amazing opportunity, and I made sure he understood how grateful I was for the opportunity. So basically, I sat down and told him I'm going freelance. I really want to continue having a good relationship with you, but reach out to me if you have any contract work because I'd love to help out.
So, did you have like a cushion fund, a savings, or did you just kind of build the nest, build the safety net as you jumped?
Yeah, so I think I had one large video project that was lined up for the beginning of the year right after I quit. I quit in December. So that was kind of my first freelance project, and that was going to be the thing that I kind of rode into the next year. So, as a freelancer, it's all about your portfolio. So, if I hadn't put together a solid enough portfolio with those two full-time jobs, I would not have quit, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to quit as a freelancer until you have a solid portfolio. And the best way to know if your portfolio is good enough is if you are able to win work while you're still working your full-time job. Your portfolio should be at a level to where you can send it to people and a certain percentage of them will respond to your email or have a meeting with you, and you should be able to get your foot in the door with your portfolio. So for the other freelancers or people interested in freelancing, make sure your portfolio is dialed in and leverage your full-time job to build your portfolio.
Quick tip to sneak in. If you have no idea where to start and you don't even know if your portfolio is good, you can do some competitor research. So, like, look on Upwork, just Google your competitors and see what other freelancers are using for their portfolio. Obviously, never ever copy anything, but you could use your competitor's portfolio as a gauge to see where your portfolio stands. And then if you need to level it up somehow, or if it's pretty decent compared to your competition, that could be a really easy way to just get a pulse on the
Yeah.
marketplace.
Yeah, and so that first year freelancing, it was not a walk in the park. It was, I had a pretty decent portfolio, but it still was a lot of cold emails, a lot of cold outreach, a lot of meetings, and it was basically just like, Tyler, you have to make this work. You left the safety of your 9 to 5. Now it's time to get out there and hit it hard. And so that was actually the same year that I discovered Upwork. And being that I was willing to do whatever it took to not go back to that 9 to 5, I was open minded enough to check it out. At that point, I had the idea that most of these freelancing websites were kind of a race to the bottom. You can't make real money on Upwork, is something that a lot of people would say. You can't charge high rates. There's no good clients. It's full of low baller clients. But I discovered Upwork that year and I gave it a shot. And I created my profile on Upwork, but I didn't get any jobs for the first couple of months. And I actually kind of wrote it off because I figured it was just going to be too difficult to compete with all of the other established freelancers that were on there. But one day out of the blue, I'm out there walking in the park and my phone buzzes and I got a completely random job invite from an agency that was in like New York, I think. And so I hit the respond button almost immediately and crafted a pretty nice response. And since it was a quick turnaround project, the guy hired me essentially within 15 minutes of responding to the job. So I got my first job. It went well. I got my first 5-star review. And that gave me the confidence to continue looking into Upwork and submitting proposals now that I had a review on my profile. So in that first year, I probably only made five, maybe $10,000 through Upwork. But over the last 5 years of freelancing, Upwork has continued to get bigger and bigger as a source of clients for me until now it's actually my main source of inbound leads. And it's the main place that people actually find me. And one of the last hurdles I had to wanting to relocate to a new state was I never felt like I was truly location independent. But thanks to Upwork, I felt confident enough that I could just change my location on there and people in Arizona would be able to find me. And that's what's been happening. Upwork has been such an amazing tool for me that I've been able to work with companies like Airbnb, TripAdvisor, Hilton. There are big companies on there. And I don't think a lot of freelancers understand that when you get into those top rated plus and expert vetted area echelons of Upwork, there are a whole lot of really big companies that are going to be interested in working with you. So fast forward to today, and I actually don't feel anxious about work coming in anymore, which is insane to think about because as a freelancer, that's the main thing that everyone's worried about, right? Like, how do I get work coming in? So I just, every day I'm grateful that I don't have to spend so much mental share thinking about how to get new clients because it just kind of happens in the background. And since there are so many clients that approach me, I can actually filter out the ones that might not be the best fit. And you don't feel like, I know there's a lot of freelancers that feel like they just say yes to everything. And I think I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty confident in saying no to a lot of opportunities just because they might not be the best fit for me.
Obviously, relocating is terrifying, absolutely terrifying as a freelancer, and not knowing if your clients are going to transfer, are they going to still work with you if you're out of state? So that was something we were very worried about, but it was really cool on Upwork. you just changed your location and it didn't seem to affect anything. I know that was a scary point for us.
So yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest differences between the service that you offer and the service that I offer, where a lot of my projects require me to be in person filming with my camera, and you're usually offering a service that is completely location independent. So getting me to the point where I felt like I could confidently change my location, relocate to a new city, and still have people finding me was huge. And thanks to Upwork, I was able to do that. So that's essentially how Jessica and I were able to escape our 9 to 5 and become full-time freelancers. What do you think are some of the biggest takeaways that people can get from our experiences escaping the 9 to 5?
I have 3 takeaways for somebody who's itching to get out of their 9 to 5. The first one, have a cushion fund. So I know a lot of people talk about this, but I want to emphasize the importance of having a cushion fund just for your peace of mind. Having a safety net of like 3 to 6 months after quitting your 9 to 5 can be the difference between, making ends meet and then having to go back to a 9 to 5. Like this buffer period is so crucial. So, what I would recommend is start now. Let's say you want to quit your 9 to 5 in the next 6, maybe 9 months. Start putting maybe like $200 to $500 in a no touch savings account and just completely forget about that money and just build your nest egg. It's going to give you so much more peace of mind. 2, start finding clients now in your 9 to 5. You need to get the experience. You need to figure out what your service offerings are, how to interact with clients, how to make sure they have a good experience. You can easily service a couple of clients while you still have a 9 to 5 on the weekends or in the evenings, but just get that experience. And then my last takeaway is be very, very efficient with your time while you have a 9 to 5. It can be kind of tough and kind of overwhelming when you have a Monday through Friday schedule. Most of your day is taken up by your job. So be very, very precious with your weekend time. So if that means clearing out all of Sunday or all of Saturday to build your freelance business, then so be it. That is what it takes, discipline and sacrifice to get that initial momentum.
Yeah, and I would say some of my biggest takeaways are you need to turn your unhappiness and that stress into fuel. So I felt so stressed out just trying to get home from work or just commuting into work. I try to channel all that negative energy and all that stress into productivity, into building my website, into making an even better demo reel that I could use to get clients when I quit. So use that energy for something productive versus something unproductive. The second one would be to leverage your full-time work for your portfolio. So you want to leverage your full-time job to help you build your portfolio. So you're spending all of this time, all of this effort at your job. You might as well leverage that into your portfolio to win freelance clients. And if you have a job that is completely unrelated to your freelance service, then like Jessica said, you need to spend all of your free time building that portfolio. On the weekends, you need to be sharpening your skills, maybe do some free work for clients during the weekend. Get that portfolio built, because until you have that, you are not ready to quit your full-time job. And another one would be just be open-minded. Like if you're going to try to make it as a freelancer, you need to use every single tool at your disposal to win. And if I wasn't open-minded towards using Upwork, or if I had bought into the myths that people had said about all of these freelancing websites, I wouldn't have given it a shot, and who knows where I'd be today. So you're going to have to be super open-minded to anything and everything if you want to be a freelancer. And then when it comes to Upwork, you need to be extremely serious about those first couple projects that you win, because those first couple projects are going to set the foundation for your long-term success on Upwork. So be picky with who you work with. Don't take on anything that you don't think you can execute perfectly, because those first 5-star reviews are going to get you your third 5-star review, your fifth project, your sixth project. So take it very seriously. Okay, so that's our stories. I'm Tyler. She's Jessica. Hopefully you feel like we're people that are worth listening to.
Why did you say that?
Okay, that's it for the Freelance Pros Podcast, episode 1. That's how Jessica and I escaped our 9 to 5s and became six-figure freelancers. In a nutshell, obviously, there's a whole lot more to the story than that. And we look forward to diving into all different elements of becoming a successful freelancer in the future podcasts. So go ahead and hit subscribe if you want to hear more, and we'll see you in the next one.